For 20 years, Toyota's 4Runner has been powered by the same basic formula, a naturally aspirated V6 that delivered adequate power with legendary reliability. It wasn't particularly exciting nor efficient, but it was as dependable as the sunrise. But for 2025, Toyota has done the unthinkable. They've killed the V6 and replaced it with a 4-cylinder turbo. I can already hear the outrage. They've ruined it. Another iconic SUV neutered. What's next, a CVT? But before you go and storm Toyota's headquarters with torches and pitchforks, there's something important you should know. Something that changes the game when it comes to this new 4Runner. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. In this episode, we're looking at what might be Toyota's boldest engineering decision yet. For this all-new 6th-generation 4Runner, they've ditched the traditional V6 in favor of a 4-cylinder. And based on what I'm seeing online, the debate still rages about Toyota's powertrain decision here. But after lots of seat time, I gotta say, Toyota's done something that has really changed the game when it comes to the 4Runner. And before we get into what this is like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. Love the previous Gen 4Runner, but it's taken Toyota 14 years to get here. This one's based on their TNGA-F truck platform. Kind of sounds like a rejected droid from Star Wars, but this is the architecture that underpins things like the Land Cruiser and the Tundra. It's a monumental upgrade with 2 all-new engines, including the first ever hybrid 4Runner. Because it's based on that truck architecture, it uses body-on-frame construction. Toyota says it's 50% stiffer than before, which is impressive until you remember the old frame had the structural rigidity of something engineered 2 decades ago. In this limited, the engine is the 2.4-liter Turbo 4. They call it the I-Force, makes 278 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 317 pounds of torque at 1,700 RPM. The transmission's an 8-speed automatic. This limited is full-time 4-wheel drive with a 2-speed transfer case. Steering's electrically assisted. Suspension uses double wishbones at the front, multi-link at the rear. This limited uses adaptive dampers. Brakes are multi-piston calipers at the front with 13.4-inch rotors. At the rear, it's 13.2-inch rotors with single-piston calipers. Wheels and tires on this limited are 20s. With all the seats folded, cargo space is a little over 90 cubic feet, which Toyota's brochure helpfully points out is class-leading, although they don't specify which class that is, which perhaps is SUVs designed during the Obama administration, but only recently updated. Ground clearance of this limited is just shy of 9 inches. Towing capacity is 6,000 pounds, and curb weight is 4,970 pounds. And for my 4Runner purist friends, rest assured they maintained your favorite feature. Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode. Behind the wheel, this is all modern Toyota truck, and that is a good thing. I've been fortunate enough to experience the latest in Toyota's range, from the Tundra to the Tacoma to the Land Cruiser, and a lot of this is very familiar, and it's all very well thought out. We do have a large steering wheel here. Thankfully, it does encourage you to have your hands at 9 and 3 where they should be. Yes, 9 and 3, my friends, not 10 and 2. This is 2025 after all, not 1950. There's lots of adjustment in this steering column as well as the seat. The seat is exceptionally comfortable. In this trim, it's heated and cooled as well. The steering wheel is heated as well. And it's very easy to find a comfortable and effective seating position here behind the wheel. You're faced with a digital instrument cluster, which gives you all the information you need. Ergonomically, this is also modern Toyota, and it means a bunch of things. Number one, it's very well conceived. Controls are in logical locations information's very easy to find. You're not hunting around for buttons or dials, very straightforward. Speaking of dials, there is a volume knob, really appreciate that. The transformation inside this cabin from a design standpoint is absolutely revolutionary. All of the materials here feel very, very durable, very well finished, and aesthetically pleasing, although in this interior of the 4Runner, it definitely has a truck vibe. Now let's talk about the new infotainment system, and Toyota seems very proud about it because I think they mention it 47 times in the press release. And credit where credit is due, this is a night and day difference from the previous generation's infotainment system, which seemed to be powered by a processor from a Tamagotchi. In terms of visibility, this is a tall SUV, so you're seated high off the ground, which lots of SUV buyers appreciate. Thankfully, there's tall glass all around, large outboard mirrors, and adjust those properly along with your rear view mirrors, and blind spots aren't real. In terms of spaciousness, well, this is a big SUV. There's lots of room here in this first row for you and your passenger. Lots of storage as well. Really appreciate how the wireless phone charger's integrated here. There are a couple of wired connections if you so desire, but really appreciate how this works. Keeps my phone in place. There's a couple of different areas in the doors for storage, as well as a little bit of storage under the armrest, and a couple little places around the cabin to store things like here. It works very, very well, especially if you're like me and just end up carrying lots of things in your vehicles. In the second row, I can fit comfortably behind myself in the seating position, which is a good thing. No issues there, but I wouldn't say that the amount of space is generous back there. Definitely comfortable for a couple of people in that second row. The third row, however, looks very, very small. Did not attempt to sit there, and in fact, how I've been using this 4Runner is with that third row folded flat, which I would figure that most 4Runner buyers will be doing anyway. Acceleration is brisk, and you wouldn't think so given that this weighs about 5,000 pounds and it's powered by a 4-cylinder turbo, but that's all very misleading, as is the 0 to 60 time. I think it's officially about 7 seconds or so, and that's misleading because it doesn't take into account how this accelerates in the real world. Sure, from a stop it might be a little delayed, but accelerating up to speed while you're on the move, whether it's getting up to highway speeds or just making a pass in traffic, this is much quicker than it seems to be if we're taking those 0 to 60 times into account. And it's all because of this new drivetrain. The engine makes peak torque way low in the rev range, and this 8-speed automatic is night and day compared to the old transmission in the previous 4Runner. And I guess this is the drivetrain that I was asking for. The internet's a funny place, and a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Toyota's decision to replace the V6 with this 4-cylinder. Some called it a cardinal sin. Some said it was like replacing John Wayne with Timothy Chalamet. The horsepower and torque numbers only tell one side of the story. The difference in daily driving, though, is profound. With that old 4Runner, if you're asking it for maximum acceleration, well, you'd have to have a well-timed and fully committed right foot and a lot of patience. This new one is downright enthusiastic when it comes to acceleration. This engine pulls from low engine speeds, maintains that pull through the mid-range, and running out of breath, maybe near redline, which you'll rarely visit anyway because the torque is so generous. If there's a downside, it's the sound. Gone is that distinctive growl of the V6, replaced by a more muted, efficient hum, punctuated by the faint whistle of the turbo from time to time. And sometimes progress comes at the cost of character, and I think that is the case here. This engine makes 278 horsepower, which doesn't sound impressive until you remember that the 4-liter V6 made 270 horsepower with 40% more displacement and 50% more cylinders. It's like replacing your underperforming employee with AI that actually works. Toyota's decision to pair this engine with this transmission might be the best decision ever since peanut butter and jelly. The old 5-speed automatic was kind of old when it debuted and positively prehistoric by the time they retired it last year. The gear ratios were spread so far apart you could fit entire ecosystems between them. But this transmission, there's nothing else to say except that it's a massive improvement over the 5-speed. It's like Toyota discovered that gears 6 to 8 were available, but we're saving them for a special occasion. And overall, this drivetrain transforms the 4Runner from an SUV that was defined by its compromises into one that actually feels modern and contemporary. On the brake turn in, I got some body roll, but even in sport mode, the dampers are soaking up these bumps. Lots of bumps on this road. The suspension's doing a great job. Off camber here on the exit, how are we doing? Oh, just perfectly well. This is no super sports SUV, but it's still very competent in the corners, and it definitely is oriented towards a more comfortable ride, but these dampers just do a fantastic job with this 4Runner's dynamics. No question that this is still a truck, and even in Sport Plus, we've got a bit of body roll and a little bit of extra float here in some of the corners. Now, this road surface is among the worst that we drive in this part of the world. So not only do we have some twists and turns, but the road surface is worse than the surface of the moon. Well, let's roll into one of the toughest corners around, and it's off camber on the exit. We turn in. Steering ratio is a little on the slow side, as you'd expect, which works off-road. It's a little unfair to just point out that the steering's a bit on the slow side. It needs to be for a truck like this. This is a proper truck, and people do use it off-road. What it means from time to time is there's a little bit of extra turning going on if you're doing a 3-point turn or U-turn. And the steering definitely deserves a special mention here because it was one of those things that really gave the old 4Runner so much more character. But the reality is this steering is markedly better than before, save for the fact that the old 4Runner steering was hydraulically assisted. The variable assist makes sense, heavier at highway speeds and lighter when you're parking for better maneuverability. What I am impressed with are the brakes. They are strong, positive, and you've got a lot of confidence with this 4Runner on that brake pedal. It's got great feel, and I've got great control with the brake pedal. And on top of that, these brakes are very, very strong. Very happy with the brakes here. For us longtime 4Runner fans, let's address the elephant in the showroom. On-road handling has really never been a strong suit of the 4Runner. Am I right? At the end of the day, this is a body-on-frame SUV with some off-road pretensions. It's not a sports sedan, and the laws of physics remain stubbornly in effect. That said, what they've done with this all-new 4Runner represents a quantum leap forward compared to the old generation. This new platform is a stiffer foundation for starters. What that does is it reduces the sensation that the body and the drivetrain and the chassis are all having separate conversations during the same corner. Sure, body roll is still around. This is a tall, heavy SUV after all, but what I do find is body roll is noticeably reduced when we are in the firmer damping modes. That's something that manufacturers have been doing for a couple of years, and it's nice to see that working here, and it works very well. And just due to these dampers alone, the 4Runner corners flatter and has better body and wheel control, much better than ever before. And Toyota's improved the on-road handling of this 4Runner so much so that it's no longer a case of one of those compromises we're willing to accept because we love the 4Runner so much. And now on-road handling is so good it just blends into the background, and it's one of those things that makes this 4Runner so much more enjoyable to drive on a day-to-day basis. How do you spec yours? Well, there are a lot of considerations here. What you are looking at is a 2025 Toyota 4Runner Limited in the 7-passenger configuration, finished in heritage blue with portobello leather interior. In the US, base price of an SR5 two-wheel drive is $40,700. As tested in this configuration, it's $56,850. In Canada, base price of an SR5 four-wheel drive, because they're not available in two-wheel drive in Canada, is $54,200. And as tested, this is $68,999, and these prices are before freight, taxes, etc. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the 4Runner's resale value is tops in the segment, if not the industry, which might be Toyota's way of softening the blow of that initial purchase price. Yes, it costs as much as your first house, but you'll get most of it back eventually. Toyota offers this 2025 4Runner in 9 different trims. 9, yes, that's more trims than most people have pairs of shoes. Not me, of course. They basically created a 4Runner for every possible personality type, budget range, and political affiliation. Well, okay, maybe not that, but it does seem like there's a 4Runner for everybody. The base SR5 is a bit stripped down for most SUV buyers, while the Trail Hunter is essentially a factory overlanding rig that costs more than most people will ever spend on actual overlanding adventures. Regardless of which vehicle you choose, you're buying into a vehicle with a reputation for strong reliability, high resale value, and a community of enthusiastic owners. And you, my 4Runner owning friends, you know exactly who I'm talking about. My verdict, well, I have to preface this with one thing, and if my impressions here are overwhelmingly positive, there are 2 reasons for that. One, I was a huge fan of the previous generation 4Runner for all of its compromises and all of its flaws. It was so full of character and so interesting that it was always compelling to get behind the wheel of a 4Runner. But this new 2025 4Runner is one of the most dramatic product improvements I've seen in a long time. This turbocharged 4 with the 8-speed automatic isn't just a worthy replacement, it's a massive upgrade. Sure, that growl of the V6 is gone and it's been replaced by a more muted turbocharged sound, and purists might miss that character, but what you gain in performance and drivability more than makes up for the soundtrack. What Toyota's done here is transform the 4Runner from a vehicle that you used to make excuses for into one that requires none. That's a remarkable achievement for a model that spent 14 years in its previous generation, practically fossilizing while the competition evolved all around it. But that's the thing, Toyota took their time, they got it right, and now it's not just competitive in this SUV segment, it's firmly in benchmark territory. For existing 4Runner owners contemplating a change, well, this decision is pretty much a no-brainer. For everyone else, Toyota's created something worthy of your serious consideration. Think of it this way, the 4Runner's finally grown up without growing old, and it's not just a great 4Runner, it's a great SUV, period. Toyota hasn't just swapped the engine, and sure, this new engine and transmission work exceptionally well together. What Toyota has accomplished here is they've fundamentally changed the way the 4Runner works in day-to-day use, and especially when you consider it's 2025, that is a welcome change. And sometimes progress means letting go of tradition, and I think in this case, those 2 cylinders won't be missed at all. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Toyota 4Runner Limited. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this, and as always, sharing is caring. So please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. And Toyota makes some fine manuals. Thanks, Toyota. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Toyota 4Runners. Since you've hung around this long, we'll have a look at the last previous generation 4Runner episode on this channel. It'll provide a nice contrast to what they've done for this 2025 model, and I think you'll appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time.